Welcome friends to MGL Tech Tutorials new video. In today's video we are going to cover generics in Java. We are going to cover few topics and with proper demo, full demo. So we are going to cover what is generics, why generics. We will understand the diamond operator, that is angular operator, T, K, comma V, question mark, vocal character basically, then bounded generics, what is bounded generics is, and these all concept we are going to do the demo for those, and also we are going to see how the generic classes methods are defined in generics, and then we'll also do the intro to the type eraser, which is also one of the generics concept. Now going to the definition of the generics, right? How you would define the generic. So basically generic are a facility of a generic programming that were added to the Java programming language in 2004 with J2SE 5.0, and generic means a parameterized type. So before going to this definition, right, we will try to understand how was the implementation in Java before generics were introduced. So I'm going to show you that using this generic sample class. Okay, so in that class I'm going to I want to have a supplier class which can provide me the values of different data types. Okay, because when we say generic means parameterized type, right, the idea is to allow the type of data types like integer, string, double, or any user defined types to be parameterized to a methods, classes, or data types, and generic adds that type safety. But before generics, how this was happening, so we will just try to demonstrate that using this example. So in generic samples, as I said, I'm gonna have one class which will supply me a int value, then it will also going to supply me the string value, so that we can see the clear difference. Okay, so now to supply my int value in this class, right, what I have to do in a Java code, I will create one more Java class. If I have to implement, I will write that class name at the integer supplier, as it's supplying me an integer value, so I'm using name as an integer supplier. Within this integer supplier, what I will do, I will just define one variable, private variable called as integer, right, and I will just call it as a value. Okay, now what I will need, I will definitely need a constructor, right? So constructor, it's always public, so public constructor, and there I'm gonna pass the value of the integer value, and then I'm gonna assign it. Okay, so this dot value okay, so this should be this dot value is equal to value. To print the value what I am receiving here, I'm going to write one more method called as a public void. I'm just printing it just to check whether it's working or not. Okay, and here I will simply have my sysout, that is my system dot out dot println, and I will print this int value. Okay, so it's actually a value, so this is a int value I'm putting it. Now this class, if I have to use here for supplying a int value, how I have to use it in our normal basic core Java level, I will just initialize this object, right, the integer supplier basically, which I just declare. Okay, so I will have like integer object name, then new integer supplier, and here I will pass one value, like suppose 88 I'm passing as an integer, and then here I will call basically print that value. Similar way, if I have to supply now string value, what I have to do, can I use this integer supplier class here? Can I use it? I think no. Reason, it is looking for specific that integer as a type, so I will just give you a string and let me pass it as a string. Okay, hi there. So it's giving me a compile time error. What it is trying to tell you, this class is mainly for type integer, you cannot pass the string variable here, so I'm getting a compile time error. Now solution to this class, what I have to do is I have to create one more class exactly similar to the integer supplier, but that will use a specific data type of a string because that is my requirement now. Right, in generic sample I need a supplier which will have a string supplier. So I will just create one more class as a string supplier. Okay, and within that I will pass the value as a string. So if I use this string here, now this class will work basically. Here I just have to make it again a string supplier, correct? And also the same while instantiating object. If you noticed here, my compile time error is gone. If I run this class, I will get the output as 88 and high there. Now suppose I now done with for my int value supplier, string value supplier. How if I want to make it for my double value? Now my requirement came like I also need a supplier for double. So I have to repeat the same things again. I have to create one more class just like integer supplier and string supplier. Similar way I have to create for a double supplier. So can you see the repetition of code everywhere which I have to do? So what can I do? So avoid this code duplication, right? What can I do is I can introduce something called as a generics. How I can create a generic, how I can make sure this class can accept any type of parameter which I want to pass using generic. So what I will do is simply I will use same class. Let me create one more class called as a supplier. So I will create a new class. I will name it as a supplier. I will change it, like I will reuse the code and try to change it to make it generic. Now to make it generic, the supplier class I have to pass a type of parameter. So you have to add this angular bracket, diamond operator kind of, right? Angular bracket start and angular bracket like greater than less than. It's more forms like a diamond, and within that I will pass a T. Okay, so where I'm putting it before a curly braces and after name of my class, and same T I have to pass here. So this will give me any type of parameter which I can pass here to print. So this is now became my generic class using this T as a type of parameter where I have a liberty because of the generics. I can use the same class to my integer as well. So yeah, so I will just 1 minute, I will recopy this one. So this class name I'm gonna use here. So this is my supplier class now. This is also supplier. I will also rename this one. I will also rename this. So can you see now? No compilation error. I don't need this now integer supplier, string supplier. Single class of mine, which is of supplier. It's doing the job for both of them, right? And if I run now this class, it will give me exact output which I was able to see earlier, 88 and high there. So earlier code, same code I am now using with generics, avoided this duplication. You're with me? Okay, so let me delete these classes. I don't now need this duplication. So very first advantage now we understood from the generics is, right, duplication is avoided, correct? Now same thing if I want to have one more class of type, so see, I deleted the string supplier, integer supplier. Even if I run this now, it is using supplier class, so I don't need those classes. So that duplication is avoided and replaced with a single class. Now if I get a requirement like I even want a supplier for a double data type, so simply I can do here, right? I can have a double, use double supplier as a name, use same class here and pass the value double value, suppose 23.9, and let's run this code. So my single supplier class now doing the job of any type of parameter using generics, using this generics, right? This I mean this angular bracket, within angular brackets T. So that's my generics type. Secondly, important point to remember, you can have a type safety as well here. So integer, you can explicitly provide your type of integer, so it will make sure this particular class will only take integer. Here also you can add this generics parameter type here, but you don't really have to provide an integer here. If you add you will get this explicit type argument integer cannot be replaced, can be replaced with just this. You don't have to explicitly give. So this is how we are done with our piece of code with a single class using generics. Now same thing we also mention in definition, right? It is an idea to allow type like integer, string, double, or user defined types. So just to take the example of user defined types, I have one class called as a rupees with me, so I will use that class as well. So I will say supply user defined type example. Okay, or let's use the double one only. Within this I will just say user defined type value, and I'm going to use my rupees class which I have defined here. So let me say it as a rupees. I will add it here, and here I can just pass new rupees. So this is my 1 rupee class which I created, which is my user defined class. For that as well I can use it. Okay, so clear, right, with the generics how we are doing. Okay, now moving to the next point. So another thing, right, this one line number 6, when we say integer, we have given the supplier of type integer using type parameter. At the compile time we are trying to restrict it. There, can I use the int? No. So basically it is only with a wrapper data type. You cannot use generics with the primitive data types. That is a point to remember. Okay, now if you know, right, our collection in Java, it is a good example of generics. It is already using it, right? So let's see one example with the array list, how generics will work now with the array list object. So I have a array list and I given here of type rupees, and I will call it as my currency list. Okay, okay, then I will say new. So I will just import this one. Okay, array list I imported, then new array list, and within this currency list, as I mentioned here as a rupees, right? So I can add new rupees, but within my currency I have two types, euro and currencies. Okay, so if I have to use here, can I add and okay, once I added here, let me try to print this value which I added to this list, right? So I will add one more method, public void, let me keep it static so I don't have to create an object, public static void print currencies. Okay, and here I am again giving a array list of object, and here list. Okay, it's a public, right? So if I print it, system.out, I will just add sys out here again to print my list. So this is also fine, and I will just call this list here. Okay, so I will just say print currencies list, as it is a object, right? But if you notice here what it is saying, array list of type object and array list of rupees. So here as well I have to keep it as a rupees, but that is after generics, right? Before generics, how I used to do this, right? I can have a object here and I can also have a object here. See, if you have noticed, when I'm giving here object, it says it is not the correct data types. So though our object is a superclass of all other classes and object reference can refers to any object, but that's not the case with the array list of object and array list of rupees, right? So they are not like array list of rupees is not really subclass of the array list of object, but this will not work, right? And but if I make it as an object, it will allow me to add. But the time I will try to get this list, right? So suppose I am trying to retrieve the object from it, so I will say suppose rupees. So but while retrieving it, let me say it as retrieve as a euro, and e value I will say currency list currency list dot get 0. So here it will ask me to cast it explicitly, cast it to euro, because I'm assigning to the euro. But if you understood, I have actually added the rupees. So compile time I don't have any problem. I have an array list of object, I added the rupees. But while retrieving, if I'm retrieving some other object, then what will happen? If we run just this code, right, what we will get? Okay, so basically, yeah, if we run this code, right, what we will get is, we will get the class cast exception. So this safety is not there if we are not using the generics. So generics will adding this safety. So how they will add safety using generics? You have to be sure like what type of object you are creating. So I will make this list as a rupees only, and I will pass that currency as a rupees. Okay, and it will make sure, and I can print this value. Now similar list if I'm creating for euros, right, and here in euro I am adding it, right? So if it is a euro list, correct, and I have to make it euro only. So when it is a euro list, this is the list I am using. Okay, so it is like a euro. So it is making sure. So what it says right here, when I'm saying the print array list, so it is saying the parameter in the array list object to rupees. So when you are explicitly typecasting it to rupees, it will not allow you to print this one. So if I use it as an object, right, so that's why this type safety is not sure. But if you are giving specific object type, right, this you have to be sure you are passing the right object there with, right? So here as well, then while retrieving, what I have to do is I have to give the rupees, right? Example would be this, and this rupees list gonna, if I'm retrieving it, right, I will get is right 0. But before this generics, right, when I was using it as an object class, I have to explicitly cast it here to the rupees. Okay, so when I say here object, it will give me error saying this one. So I will keep it as object type, but what it is giving me, I am adding the object of type rupees, and there is no check basically. Once we saw that class cast exception, secondly while retrieving, it will explicitly ask you to explicitly typecast it to the type rupee, then only it will compile. So these things are there once you are using it with the rupees. So if I use it with the rupees, it will ask me first of all to make it as well a rupees. So it is trying to restrict it and give the type safety at the compile type itself, and it will say here you don't need to explicitly cast it to the rupees because it is already defined as a rupees. So that is we call as a generics is providing you the type safety, and along with that is ensuring the structure of your code as well. Okay, now let's move to the more advanced things within this generics. Okay, so we will have a supplier class, which we said any type of classes you can add here. So if you go to our supplier class, what we have a T as a type. Okay, so now within this tree I can have an integer, I can have a double, I can have even my user defined class of the currency classes, right? From currency interface, all the classes I can use for this apply, but I want to make it bounded. So what is a bounded generic? So to make it bounded, what I can use, I will just try to extend it. I don't want to be this type of any type, so I want to extend it. I want to make it specific to my currency interface, like whichever classes of type currency, those only need to be accessed. The time I add a tree extend currency, what happened? I am getting a compile time error here. It's saying integer not allowed because I am now I have a bounded generics with of type currency. So to get rid of this, I cannot use it for the integer, but I can use it for the type of currency. So I will just use here euro, new euro. Let's see, error is gone, right? Same way, I can here pass rupees, and I will say here new rupees. Okay, so no compile error. So this is how we are now have a bounded generics by defining the extend currency. You may say like I want to make it even implement the interface like serializable. So I can also have that as one, like along with currency it should also have a serializable type. So what I can do, I can use ampersand and I will just provide here a serializable. I can have a multiple interfaces implementing it like this using a ampersand. Okay, but you cannot have a multiple inheritance by class because Java didn't provide multiple inheritance using class, but you can have with the interface. But only rule is there, you are when you are using extend, first object, like first one which you are going to extend is going to be always class and then all interfaces. Okay, and another thing, though it is an interface, we use extends only. So if I remove this currency, you might think we have to use the implement. No, so for even for interface we are using the extends only. Okay, so this is one point to remember. Okay, this is about then bounded. So this means, right, can have a multiple interfaces, and Java, as it didn't provide the multiple inheritance, so only one class. This is how you can bound your class. Okay, using the generics. Now moving to the generic methods. So if we go to the generic method, let's create one example around that. So we will try to just remove this one for just making it simplified, right? So I'm going to introduce one more method just to show you I will remove this one, or I will use same method. I will define it like this. So I will have something like calculate method. I will remove this too as well. Just for example, I am writing one new method called as a calculate. So now we are going to look at generic methods concept in Java. Okay, so for that I am creating this calculate method. Okay, and I want to have a parameter of type t, which is like cal value 1. I will just name it like this. Okay, cal value 1, and I will print that one, cal value 1. Okay, but what happened, I'm getting some error here. What it says, when I go on the t, it says cannot resolve symbol t. So what I have to do, public static void. So after public you just have to give it as you have to tell compiler this is a generic type. So this t you are mentioning here. So now if you see, the error is gone. Here I will simply call this method calculate. I will just pass hi. Let me try with different, because this is of type t, right? So I can pass any data type here, it's not bounded. So I can pass here 23 like that, and if I run this piece, so it will run for me, right? It is printing hi and 23, whatever I pass to my generic method. Now I may say, right, I want more parameter to be passed. So how I will do that, v then cal value 2. Okay, but again here same error. So here I have to give t comma v, and now while calling here I have to pass another value something, again it's a t type, right? So I can pass anything here. So can you see my generic method, I have to define that like this t and v, passing as a parameter, but you have to define here. If you want to return any value of type t, right, so instead of void I can use t here as well. Only thing I have to write a return statement to get it compiled. Yeah, so I will just say return cal value 1. I will get a compile freq. So can you see how we can use the generic methods? Okay, so this is how you can have a generic method. Now same thing we can do for the our class level as well, right? This is about the multi-parameter within a generic method. Same thing if I have to do here as well. What I have to do is I simply have to pass the t and v here, and here I can have that one more value as a v. So I can have a multi-parameter generic class as well. Okay, exactly same way. So this explains the concept of the generic methods in a Java. Okay, and second, one more thing important I missed to tell you is, like, in supplier, this, do I need to have name like this t v? It's not mandatory, right? I can have kv as well. Okay, you just have to change here. Rather I can have anything whatever I want. See, it's compile free, right? It's compiling properly. I can have anything whatever you want, right? You can put it here, anything. So it's not restricted to have only t and v. It's just a type. You can have whatever name you want, but just by following our coding standard, right, the way we follow in Java, we try to use the similar. But you can have anything. There is no restriction what name you use. Same thing for here as well. You can have whatever you want to have. Okay, so this is about the generic methods as well. Now going back to our earlier call, like there we were trying to print the list, right? So we'll go back to our collection API class again, and we will look for one of the type within generics, that is a wildcard character. So where the wildcard is used in a generics. So public static, I will just use here print currency method again. Okay, so I have a method called public currency, and it is taking a list of rupees, suppose list, and it is just printing that list. Okay, now it is not returning anything. I will remove that list one here. I have to import the list class, so I will import it. Okay, so this is there. Now I have to call this class here. So I can have a list of different types. So going back to my supplier class, or simply just do the array list. I am having a rupees, right? I will have a currency list. Okay, new array list, and I will just add to my currency list dot add new rupees. Okay, and I will call this method again, print currency. It will allow me to call, right, because I'm giving very explicit currency as a type of rupees, and it is even printing this. But what will happen if I even want to add here currency of type, because I'm not sure what types of data I will receive, right? So I might need a multiple types of currency. So that time what I will do, I will just add here new euro. This will not work because we are type safety we did, right? We have made it more like the rupees. But now I can have a multiple types of currency I might receive. So I can have here as an object. Suppose I'm not going to currency interface. Basically I will just use object, our old way, right? Same way I will try to keep it as well, as well object. Okay, but again when I'm trying to retrieve the object from it, right, I might have a problem when I'm retrieving it. So for that, what we can use it, we can have it as something as a question mark, that is called as a wildcard character. So this will allow me to add any type of object to my list. Okay, so I don't have to specify anything here, I believe, yes, and I will simply simply pass this as a this one as a wildcard character. So I can give any type of currency object, or even if I want currency list dot add integer as well, some value and pass. So I am getting any types of currency list back to me using this wildcard character. With wildcard character as well, you can have that bounded wildcard, right? Using like extends. So if you want very specific, only the currency one here, then you can add that as well, right? Okay, so that will restrict you to the specific types, correct? Yeah, I hope the things are clear. Yeah, so using this wildcard as well, you can have the bounded wildcard as well, right? Basically when we use the wildcard, it is mainly with the unknown, when you are not sure what kind of list you will receive back. So in that case, you can have this wildcard type of suppliers, right? Or I can say the generics types for your project. Okay, so within your application, you can have this wildcard with while using the generics. Okay, that is all about the generics. Only one topic, which is about type eraser, we will just give an intro about that, and in coming session we'll try to cover it in more detail. So what is a type eraser? This is also one of the concept within a generics, and it is to implement the generics in the Java compiler applies this type eraser, and basically it replaces all the type parameter in generic type with their bounds or object if type parameter are unbounded. And also it generate the bridge method to present the polymorphism. So that is just intro to your type eraser, but in coming videos we will try to cover the type eraser within generics. Okay, if you enjoyed this video or you learned something, please let me know by liking this video, or just start subscribing to the channel for more interesting video like this, and keep learning. And thank you so much for watching my video. Thank you.